So my backstory came from my parents, humble beginnings. My mom and my dad loved them to death. But growing up, we didn't grow up with too many resources, financial resources. But that's all I knew. I've never felt poor. I've always felt that my parents giving me the love that they give me has supported me in everything that I've wanted to do ever. So it started with that. It started with the fact that when I was younger, my mom would say, or my dad's doing some work outside, and they'll say, yeah, go out and play. And I would want to go out and play, and I would want to hang out with my friends. And my parents would say, no, you need to stay home and you need to cut grass. Or you need to stay home, you need to lay cement. You need to stay home and you need to do, lay grass or break down rocks or whatever the case was. But at the time, I didn't like that idea because it was very difficult. I wanted to go out. In fact, my parents would even put, my mom in particular, would put us to work, me and my friends to work, which was kind of crazy. And we would have the rock party. We would have the grass party. Everything was a party. If enough people show up working, if enough people show up and we're doing the work, and then at that point, put music on, make some good food. It's a party, but we're working. So that's kind of how the work ethic that I got from my mom and my dad, that's the work ethic I got. As you guys, if you guys know me for a while, me and Maria, we got together while we were younger, much younger, in high school. And Maria, she had a baby, a Yesenia, at 15 years old. Very difficult at that time in my life because I was still in high school. My mom didn't think I was going to pass high school. I didn't think I was going to pass high school. But with Maria having our first daughter, that was a life changer for me. That literally changed my life from what I was doing before, which wasn't good things, to what I'm not doing now, but what I was doing after the fact. I realized instead of running from the problem, I realized that I needed to man up, that I needed to be the father that my father wasn't to me. And I say my father, not my dad that raised me, but my biological dad. Great person, not a good role model for father figure. So that caused me, that created a ripple effect in my life that made me go from here. I said, you know what? I need to do better in life. And I decided that I wanted to do good in school. And I decided that I wanted to, pass. So I went from barely passing, that my teacher said, Eddie, just shut up. We'll pass you, just leave us alone, to A's and B's, and I graduated. My mom was smart because my mom, in first 2 years of high school, she put me into another school that wasn't late to high school because she knew that most of my friends would probably drop out or something to that effect, and I wouldn't finish. So she put me at Jefferson High School for the first 2 years. Well, after those 2 years, she did move me to Leto, where I ended up graduating. But she was right. Most of my friends weren't there anymore, and I did graduate from high school there. I used to work at a bank. While we had the transition, it was very difficult. I had to work multiple jobs. Maria had the baby. We didn't have the resources, we didn't have the means. Our parents had the means. Her parents didn't have the means. So we were struggling. Once I graduated high school, I started working at a bank, and I started moving up really quick in the bank. But what I didn't know is how corporate culture works. I didn't understand the idea of hierarchy of authority. So I wanted, even though I was learning quickly and I was graduating quickly and I was getting awards, I was getting all these accolades, I could say, every single month I was getting something, I didn't realize that there was a chain of command. And I did realize it, but I wanted to learn and quickly. I wanted to learn quickly, as fast as I could, because that's my personality. Well, when I started getting roadblocks of training and where I wanted to be and where they were allowing me to be, I started going above their head, because that's me. That's my personality. And clearly that doesn't work very well in the culture, in the corporate world. And if anybody that has a corporate job understands this very well. I didn't get it yet. So you piss off enough people, it's going to have repercussions. I remember I was in a car accident at 19 years old. I was leaving Maria's house. It was 2 a.m. Somebody went head on. They were driving the wrong side of the road. My head hit the windshield. I cracked the windshield. very painful. I went to one person that I knew that was an attorney, and that person recommended a clinic to me. That clinic showed me how to do, that clinic had a chiropractic doctor there. They showed me how to do chiropractic adjustments, which is really weird, really weird. And I was doing chiropractic adjustments at my mom's house for my friends. Not approved by the Department of Health, none of those things. But so I decided I wanted to go to school to be a chiropractor. We were going to uproot and move to New York. Maria tells me, before we move to New York, before we do all that, I support you, but before we do all that, why don't you go to school to be a massage therapist? See if you even like the field. I was completely resistant. I said, I don't want to touch people. That's just gross. I'm not into that. She talked me into it, as any good woman would, right? I started going to school, massage therapy. I'm no longer working at the bank. I started realizing that massage therapy was actually therapeutic and actually helpful for many people. I wanted to open up a business called the Reyes Club. The Reyes Club was more like a spa. And I'm glad I didn't go down that route, to be honest with you. But with it, before I graduated massage therapy school, I worked at a clinic, and within 6 months, I was already running that clinic. I was hiring doctors, firing doctors, doing everything else. So with that being said, I started saying, you know what, I can do this myself. And I opened up, before I opened up the corporation, I started looking for places that were closing down. As luck would have it, where my mom worked at the time, it was Jim Walters, was a big business right there where the Target is at on Del Mabry and Kennedy, around that area. And that business took up a lot of space where they were closing down. So they had lots of dividers, lots of furniture, lots of things. And I was buying things on pennies on the dollar. And I was reselling all this furniture, dividers, to other doctors, to other people, to get seed capital to open up the clinic. Again, I didn't know it was a clinic yet. I started learning about the personal injury business and things like that. And the clinic I worked at did personal injury. And then I started buying equipment from other doctors that were closing down, or if not closing down, that they were actually doing renovating or whatever. I started buying equipment. I started sewing in my closet. And from there, I started to, I incorporated my business. I kept working at a different place. I changed location from one place to the next place. I finally got my license. And I started to see clients on the weekends, at nights. I started driving to their house. I was even, and then I was even going to their house and doing therapy, and it was all day long. I mean, it was what the grind that you have to go through to open up a business. I remember my first clients, we would literally be there from in the morning till late at night to see somebody at 9 p.m. just to make sure that I saw them. In fact, at first I couldn't afford to have doctors, so I would send them to a doctor, wait in the lobby, and then I would wait for them to write a prescription to come back for treatment. Now, clearly that grew exponentially with time. I had that business for 13 years. At the end, I had MDs, I had MDs, I had DOs, orthopedic, acupuncturists, MDs, massage therapists, and the firm. The office grew much bigger. I had that for 13 years. I also bought a gym, Pitbull Gym on Sly in Armenia. That gym, I grew up from 100 members to 350 members, and then I went to sell it, and the sale didn't work out. A lot of, long story there. Over drinks, we'll talk about it. And then I had a partner that was doing something he shouldn't be doing on his own merit, and that partner, he ended up getting his own bind, but for a year and a half, I went through literally hell. I literally went through hell. Like, I went from being very, very comfortable to being very, very broke. And I had real estate properties. I had the gym. I had all these different things. And Maria had, we had Araceli as well. This was like around 2008 or so. We also had the recession. So now I had 2 kids, family, and lots of bills. I remember my bills were probably $65,000 a month, $70,000 a month. And when things were good, things were great. And then I had the real estate and stuff like that. But when things are hard, things are really hard. You know what they're saying? When it rains, it pours. It's true. So the people in the homes stopped paying the rent. The partner issue led me a year and a half of problems that I eventually took them off the corporation, closed and reopened, but never actual, there was never actual real close. It was just paper close. And in the gym, I had to let it go eventually because of other issues back and forth with the person that tried to sell it to, whatever the case is. So I remember sitting there saying, what am I going to do? Oh, well, and let me go back. The clinic, I ended up having it, and I ended up resalvaging it and going through that hard times. And the hard time, what made me think about it is whenever we couldn't use money to buy Chinese food. I remember Maria went to go buy Chinese food and it got denied. That's whenever I said, you know what? This is, as a business owner, I'm very optimistic. And that's the time that I really felt the pain because I didn't realize how bad it was because we still had a lot of business, but I wasn't generating any money. And I was hemorrhaging $35,000, $40,000 a month. But I kept thinking it's going to get better, it's going to get better, it's going to get better. Now, when that happened, I started thinking more clear. I went through a small depression, and I just wanted to go home and go to sleep and wake up, and it was a hassle. And then put my happy face on at work as if nothing was going on, but the energy, people felt the energy. And what I got from that was I started thinking much more clear because I started thinking, what am I going to do if I had to close the business? And I started thinking about my spaces, and I started thinking about my bills, and I started thinking about my life in general, and I started doing a lot of community stuff, a lot of charity stuff. That's when I got really, really deep into like community and charity and helping a lot of people because I started realizing that other people are worse off than me, and I thought I was in a bubble. I thought it was the worst thing ever that could ever happen to me. I thought that was it. And then when I started realizing that my problems were first world problems, I started feeling better, started thinking better. Now I started making better decisions. I started making much, much, much better money decisions than I was when I was younger. I started saving more, I started using better use of my space. I started thinking more creatively. When people are going through financial struggles, and this is why I can always talk about these things, when people are going through really financial struggles, that's when you really think creatively if you let your mind think creatively. And that's what happened. Because I was going through such a hard time that I was losing everything, like my car, my house, everything. I was losing everything. Because I was thinking creatively, I started thinking about all these different things I could be doing, should be doing, and how I could do it. And I started putting better plans in motion that didn't involve money, involved time, but not money. So then I ended up closing the clinic, but not right away. I ended up closing the clinic a couple years later. I saved a lot more money than I had before, and I was actually in a better financial position, and I was smarter because of all the adversity that I went through because of that. So, but I remember one day I was driving from the gym that I own, driving to my house, and me and Maria were talking about what can I do if I had to close, and this is before I went through it. What could I do if I had to close my business? What would I do? And she, in conversation, she said, maybe you should go to law school. Well, and I said, yeah, that's a good idea. I'll go to law school. But the problem was I didn't have a degree. I didn't have an associate's. I didn't have a bachelor's. I didn't have anything. Nothing at all. Nothing. In fact, I did try school once, and it didn't work out very well, and I dropped out, and I was ignorant because I was making too much money. Not too much money. I was making good money at 22, 23 years old that I was like, why go to school? This is me, my ignorant self talking to myself. Why go to school if I'm making more money than doctors and attorneys make? Which was true. I was making a good amount of money at 23, 24 years old. Nobody can tell a 23-year-old person with an S-Class Mercedes and a big house in Carrollwood that why go to school? But life teaches you different lessons, and the point is to learn from those lessons. If you don't learn from the lessons, that's the problem. So I enrolled in, as everybody that knows me, I'm kind of impulsive when it comes to things like that. When I want something, I get it. I want to do it and do it now. I don't like waiting. I enrolled in HEC, and I did 2 years in HEC. I still had the clinic, and then I sold the clinic, and I did 2 years at USF. And while I was at USF, I opened up a marketing company. I sold ads to attorneys and doctors because that's all the people I knew, a lot of people I knew. And I had a street team and stuff like that at USF. When I went to law school was completely different than anything I've ever done in my life. Really different. The first 2 semesters was very difficult, and I couldn't even, I don't know. It was overwhelming. And everybody going through the struggle understands what I'm saying. The first 2 semesters was very difficult. And then, but we needed money. We had money saved. I saved a lot of money from the clinic, but money does run out with time, or it starts dwindling, of course. So I reactivated my real estate license, my real estate broker's license, and I did that full time while in law school. While in law school, I did well in law school. I paid half my student loans with my real estate income, still working full time, still going to law school full time, still doing everything I had to do to provide for my family, because it's very important to me because of my upbringing. The way I was brought up was hard work and ethics to my parents, and the fact that my father wasn't the best father to me, my real father. I wanted to be something that he wasn't, a better father. And that made me think of a lot of different things, and that made me do better. In fact, when Yesenia was born, my first daughter, that's whenever the true light bulb came up. That's when I decided that I needed to do better in life. And then as the struggle went on and things like that is how I kept improving. I've gone through lots of bumps and bruises, lots and bumps and bruises in my life. I've hit the wall 100 times. I'll probably make 100 mistakes. I've made 100 mistakes, and I hope that I keep learning from my mistakes. But so in law school, I graduated law school. Most people didn't even know I went to school in the first place. It was kind of a shock whenever I graduated law school. Shocked that I even went to school, because only my close friends and family knew that I went to school. Once I passed law school, I actually posted online on Facebook that I passed law school, and then I got hundreds of comments, and somebody says, "Do you want your first client?" As any opportunist, of course. And I took my first client 3 days after. We had to do a rush swearing in, and then I had the official swearing in like a week later with family and friends and things like that. Signed on my first client, and I remember stopping at Chick-fil-A, changing the forms, put my name on it, stuff like that. It's all new. I incorporated my business. I literally did. I passed law school, got the call. I incorporated my business. I made a website. I did all these things in a matter of like a day. Like seriously, like tax ID number, corporation, marketing material, paperwork, everything in a matter of a day. And then I signed up my client 2 days later or 3 days later after finding out that I passed the bar. And from there, you guys know the story, and we've grown substantially. From there, the second day I signed up another client, third day I signed up another client. It was crazy. The momentum was beautiful. And it was just me and Tanya at first, and then now we've grown to be a lot bigger, and we'll continue to grow to be a lot bigger. But that's my story, and that's why we put the effort in, because to me, it's very important that you got to put the work in. It's very important you got to put the work in, and because of my family, the Cuban descent, the Cuban traditions, the hard work, and I'm not saying if you're not Cuban, you don't have hard work. I'm just saying that in my family, that was what we had to do. We had to work hard to make things happen. Me having a child young in life normally will be a problem for most people out there, but for me, that changed me from doing one set of things in life to doing a whole new set of things in life. Me going through struggles is what made me a better person. So that's my story. That's my backstory. And I know it's kind of a longer video, but I've been thinking about this quite a bit, because everybody has a story, and this is what makes me tick. This is what makes me better. I wanted to go to law school to be self-sufficient. I wanted to become an attorney to be self-sufficient. I want to be an attorney to make changes in the society, in the community, and I want to be an attorney to be a better person to my family and to my kids.